Aloha everyone, my name is Alessandro and this is the Temple of Surf, the podcast. We'll give you full access to the best surfers, skaters, shapers, surfboard collectors, shop owners in the world. Discover with me their stories, the greater successes, amazing behind the scenes, and much more. This episode is brought to you by Yogi Pipe, a line of apparel created with eco-friendly materials by artisans from all over the world. Let's discover more about them and their collection on www.yogipipe.surf. Hello everyone and welcome to the 22nd episode of our podcast. Today with us from the North Shore of Hawaii, legendary shaper Eric Arakawa. Let's discover more about his career, innovation, future projects and much more. Hi Eric and welcome to the show. Where are you today?
I am sitting in my factory office in Hawaii.
How is it going over there in Hawaii? I heard the coronavirus is not super strong. People can go to surf, people can go around, some precaution of course.
Yeah, I mean, we're probably doing very well. I mean, for all the states, we're probably doing the best. And we're an island. We're stuck in the middle of the ocean.
Yeah.
So I guess in a sense, we're all quarantined here.
Yes. It's a good thing of being on an island. You know, I spoke with some people in Tahiti, for instance, and they said, listen, at the moment they closed the airport, we had only 3 cases. You know, we are completely safe, nobody. So it's good. It's good to be on an island, right?
Yeah, it's good. And we've been able to surf the whole time. Yeah, and in the beginning when everyone was locked down, our governor said that surfing is an essential activity. So in the springtime, we had really good surf and we were all surfing. So
yeah,
that kept our sanity.
That's amazing, you know. So today we're going to talk about shaping, surfing, surfboards, the history, your history. But the first question that I have for you is, in your opinion, what is the most important thing in surfing?
I should have had you ask these questions, send me these questions ahead of time. But no, it's a good question, and it's a simple one. I think the most important thing in surfing is to have fun.
Yes,
and that's the reason why we all started. But for many of us, there's been times along the way where we were still surfing, but we weren't having fun. Sometimes it's attitude or maybe expectations. Maybe comparing to the way things were before. It could be health. It could be maybe some of our abilities, maybe the crowds, and really attitude. So I think the most important thing to keep in mind is we surf because it's fun.
Yeah.
And so we need to keep it fun and take everything in stride and not maybe to get, we need to be able to adjust. Just like right now, we're in the pandemic, everybody's forced to adjust. And so in surfing, I mean, it's part of our sport, being able to adapt to different conditions, you know, hazards. And I think this is really comes part and parcel of our sport. So yeah, I think we need to adapt to make sure that we're always and still having fun.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And with the podcast, I was able to interview some surfers that they just said, we were competing and that was not fun anymore. You know, the competition, all the fun out of it. And so we decided to go back and maybe do videos and other things that they are fun, but without all the pressure. Do you remember your really first surfboard, the one that you surfed?
I remember it. In fact, I was just thinking about that today. It was very interesting that you asked this question. I just, right before this interview with you, I had a customer in our factory looking for a board for himself. And actually a guy from France.
Wow.
Of all places. And he was talking about a board that he used to ride. And I started talking about a board that I rode in Waikiki. One of my first boards, a brand new board, it was a 5.6. And it was a twin fin. And I think I was 10 years old. And yeah, a 5.6. I learned on something very, very short.
Yeah, definitely.
So, yeah.
And you still have that board, or you know where it is, or it just lost with the time?
No, I wish I had all my early boards. But you know, when you're you're 10 years old, 11, 12. You don't think about those kind of things.
No, yeah, definitely.
You get rid of it. You move on to the next new thing, the next best thing.
Exactly. But sometimes, you rediscover maybe an old surfboard in some shops or some friends or cousins, that they kept it. But it's the dream of everyone to have his own first surfboard. Yeah. But and how was the transition between being a surfer and being a shaper? How you end up starting this?
Yeah, it was natural. So your first question, what's the most important thing in surfing? And it's to have fun. And likewise with shaping, that's the other thing, is it's having fun. But for me, it had a practical reason too. So this is twofold. Anyway, I love working with my hands, but the other reason why I got into shaping was because I was really young. I mean, I was too young to work, to get a job legally, and being a poor young teenager and too young to work, it was almost impossible to gather up enough money, to save enough money to get a new board. So I decided that one way to shorten that time period of me getting a board and saving money would be to maybe just building one for myself.
Yeah.
So that's what I did. And for me, it was really fun. It was a new thing. And the transition was a way to keep me in the water. So if I didn't do it, then there was a longer period where I wouldn't be surfing or I wouldn't be on the board that I wanted. But the way fate plays it out, the first board I built for myself, the very first board I actually made, it was the absolute worst board that I ever made. It was it was the worst board I ever rode. Okay. Absolutely. Not without question.
You should treat yourself better. You should have treated yourself better.
So when I said, for one of the reasons, right? Yeah, I mean, the main reason for me to start shaping was to get me in the water with boards. So no one talked about the learning curve before I started. And so right away, I learned that there was a steep learning curve.
Definitely something that a lot of shapers started, started to create their own surfboards first because they wanted to surf. Yesterday, I was talking with Eric Gordon, that is the son of Larry Gordon of Gordon and Smith. And he was telling me, Alessandro, at the beginning, my father created this company to do surfboards for him. And it was simple as that, right? And I think then you start to create boards, and then you start to have clients, and then you innovate, and then you become known. And this is something that happened to you, I guess, as well, right?
Right. I mean, I had no intention to build a business. I had no intention to have a factory. All I wanted was to have a board to go surfing. That's all. I couldn't see beyond that. That's all. That was it. And then after I built that first board, a close friend of mine said, "Hey, make one for me." So I said, "Okay." It was fun. So I did one for him, and then another friend, and then a friend of a friend. And pretty soon, next thing I knew was I was doing boards for people I didn't even know. And then one day I realized why I had this thought. I go, maybe I'm in business, So it wasn't planned. What
was the defining moment of your career as a shaper?
I think there's a couple of milestones and memorable moments. I think one was getting offered a job at a local surf shop in Hawaii. And that really kind of got me to start to get on a certain track. So I started realizing, well, maybe I can make a career out of this. And I was going to college at the time. A couple of years into it, I decided that I was going to quit school halfway through. I was in it 2 years, and I decided I was going to travel, and I was in shape. And it actually brought me to Europe about a year later. And then I was there for about 6 months and ended up coming back to Hawaii and hooked up with Michael Ho.
Yeah.
And got reconnected with him and started building boards for him. And that year he won the Pipeline Masters with with a cast on his arm, with a broken arm. And I think that was a huge milestone. And I think that really changed the course of my career.
Yeah, I think it's a great moment, great memory as well. So basically, you are known for giving like a great qualitative support. And I also read online that for you, innovation is key, right? Try to find always like something to improve. How is it true today, like after all these years? Are you still able to innovate?
Yeah, I mean, my mind is always going, but as much as you innovate, what really sticks is really what people want in the water. And so there's this equilibrium that you're constantly having to work with. It's cost, scalability, and also functionality. And so all these things come together. We find the equilibrium point. We actually just interesting that you brought that up, because we have this type of construction, this technology. We call it EXO technology, and we've developed it over 12 years right now. And we've created this suspension system in the inside, this carbon and bamboo suspension system in boards. It's stringerless, and they work well. They're very reactive, responsive. There's a lot of life, when you flex the board, when you weight into it and unweight. So there's a dynamic action that structure creates, but it's so expensive, and the tolerances are so tight. We have a high reject rate, so they're expensive to build, and it's really not. We can't actually sell them enough to really make the time and the difficulty it takes, the difficulty that's involved in actually making these things and scaling these things. So right now, during this pandemic and all that, we're having to pivot, and we're actually putting that on hold right now. And we're really focusing on our our core market and core products. But anyway, I mean, that's a kind of a long answer to a simple question. Yeah, innovating. Yes, I think it's really important, but there's time to shift, and there's time to focus. And right now, we're shifting and we're focusing on our bread and butter stuff. But again, so innovation, a lot of times it's this process. Sometimes you take a step backward to take 2 steps forward, and that's the way it's always been over the years as I've been building boards. And so, innovating, you adjust, you retool, and you move forward. So hopefully you're always making forward progress.
Yeah. And innovation is not only about finding something new and impressive that nobody else ever thought about it. That of course is great, but is also maybe taking boards from the 80s and readjust to modern time and the modern surfing, right? Is not fully discover a new thing. It's just like readjust all glory of the past. Maybe I don't know. It's
well, it's like this old cliche, right? There's nothing new under the sun. and so yeah, you hit it right. You hit the nail on the head. I mean, this is what we're going through right now. There's so many designs that we've done in the 70s and the 80s. They're just resurfacing now. And my son's in his 20s, and he basically runs the business right now. And he's the other side. He's the other creative head in the business. And he's saying, hey, we should do this and that. And I'm going, we did that already. We did that in the 70s. Oh man, that's old. That's in the 70s. And he goes, that's the point. That's the point. It's cool. I'm going, it's old. And he goes, no, it's not. He goes, we redo it. It's happening right now. And so he's actually forcing me to revisit things that we were doing, but taking some designs and maybe some of our the experience and knowledge we have now with materials, applied materials, and refinements in design, and reintroducing some of these designs with a fresh look. They even surf different. So yeah. So there, no, it's a great process. Yeah, revisiting, going back,
And it's great
and
the synergy that you have with your son, right? That both of you challenge each other, right? In a good way.
that's a good word. I'm gonna challenging each other.
Yes, yes, yes. The way I see.
He's definitely brought fresh eyes. And I'm he's my son, and I'm actually been pleasantly surprised because he's brought freshness, new ideas, and for me, I've been doing this my whole life, and I'm the boss, and when I have an idea, we just do it. But now, for the first time ever, I have someone that is challenging me on it and is telling me, Dad, that's not a good idea. He goes, no, that's bad. That's bad. He'll tell me straight where no one, no one else told me that before. And it's good. It's sometimes I don't like to hear it,
Yeah.
it'll hurt my pride but I find myself getting overruled,
Oh
and
my
it's good.
God.
So, and I'm realizing, what, I need to start making some room. I'm working on a succession plan right now, and it's good. It's good to have young people, young ideas infused into the way we do things.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's good to be challenged.
Definitely. They actually, younger people, they see the world in a different way, and not necessarily is bad. It's just like different. So,
Right. Yeah, it's different.
is there a young shaper that you really think is can be very successful in the future, or is very good in what he does?
Yes. And he works for me.
Okay, you have it already said.
He works for me. And I'm not just saying that just because he works for me. He started working the factory running my machine.
Okay.
And, he loved working with his hands. I mean, he loves to surf, and he's very artistic and creative. And, he was just running the machine, and just one day just wanted to just try creating a surfboard with his own hands. And he asked if he could do that. He could ask if he could borrow one of the shaping rooms to just work on something for himself. I said, yeah, sure. Just got him set up with some tools, and just got him, gave him a little jump start, and he's been at it ever since. And the more time he got to building his boards and building boards for his brothers and stuff, the better he got. And I had him start finishing some boards, just a few at a time. I had four finish shapers at the time, and he was basically on the third string, because I had all these other guys that were older, more experienced. But he's still with me after 17, 18 years, and he's really good.
Nice.
He's really good. And when I look at him, I see a lot of myself, the young Eric in him. And I see the hunger, and I see his tenacity and his perseverance. And he's a perfectionist also. And I see that. I see the things the agony he goes through when things just aren't just right. But I like that, And so, yeah, so he's still with me, and I really push him to really expand his borders.
Amazing. He will be very happy to hear this from when the podcast will be released, right? They will.
Yeah, there's not too many, and I've told him this before. There's not too many shapers like that. There's a few, but there's some that have a special quality. And what's really important for any shaper, a creator, a surfboard builder, an artist, whether he's a painter, photographer, a sculptor, someone who designs cars or planes, you have to be able to see it before it exists. What you're creating, you have to be able to conceptualize, but just come up with ideas it's not enough. You have to take the next step to where you actually see something that does not exist right now. You have to see it existing in your head. You have to see the details and everything, whether if it's a surfboard, the lines, the curves, you have to see everything coming together. It has to be finished in your head before it exists. And so the skilled visionary knows how to bring what he sees, what exists in his mind, into life, into the physical.
Yeah.
And so I've seen there's a few shapers that I've met in my life that have that, and he has that.
Like who, for instance? Because I had a lot of people from San Diego that told me, like Skip Fry is one of those, that they conceptualize everything inside their hands and then they create.
Skip Fry, for sure. He's one of the guys that be at the top of the list.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm sure there's others. You know, I mean, we have machines right now. We have software that will generate these surfboard designs for us. But the thing is, it only puts out what gets put into it. So bad information, garbage in, garbage out. So if you don't put in the right information, at the end, we only get garbage. So, you know, guys like Skip, I mean, he sees it. He sees on the other end. And that is something that not everyone can do. People have to go work along the way and see things and whittle and add this, take this away. But to be able to just go from here, just conceptualizing things, thinking like, okay, here's a need. This is what we need to do. Here's a performance goal. And then being able to see this thing completely finished. That's a gift.
Yeah, definitely. I completely agree with you. But so if you had to give an advice to a young shaper, which one would it be?
I think maybe one will be just super simple and practical. I'll give you two. And one will be more philosophical.
Okay.
I'll give you the practical first. And it just seems so simple. It just seems just too obvious. But I guess I would say just be willing to work hard and always do your best.
Definitely.
Always do your best. I mean, that would apply to just about everything, right?
Yeah.
Everything that is worth doing.
Yeah.
And because to actually start to grab a blank and start shaping something, try to create something that looks like a surfboard, that floats, that can ride a wave, to actually building really good boards that make people happy when they're out. Remember your first question.
Yeah.
You know,
important thing.
The reason why we surf is because, I mean, it's fun.
Yeah.
And what we're doing is we're creating more than a surfboard. For me, it's like I tell my factory crew is we're creating more than a surfboard. We're not in the surfboard business. What we're doing is we are creating an experience for our customers. It's more than just a surfboard.
Yeah. So
we have to put more into it than just building a board. We have to realize it's more than just foam and fiberglass.
Yes.
Anybody can do that.
I agree with you.
Okay, so be willing to work hard and do your best. On the philosophical answer to that is, if you're going to go that far, devote that much time to building surfboards, to delivering an experience, then along the way, make sure that you're shaping lives too. Not just shaping surfboards, but you're shaping lives. Because at the end of the day, at the end of your life, the most important things that you're going to have is not the business, not being able to say, a surfer won a championship on my boards, or a Pipe Masters title, or whatever, a world title. At the end of the day, the inventory in your life, the things that are going to make the most, are going to be most significant, are the relationships. So along the way, be sure that you're shaping lives.
Yeah.
Because this journey is not going to be a solo one. It's going to involve a lot of people.
Yeah, actually, I totally agree with you. You know, like when you start to say about we're not selling surfboard, we're selling experiences, and you connect these with shaping the life. I think today also clients they want to have, or people actually want to have a relationship with the shaper. You know, and as well you pay a price for it, right? Is not cheap, right? So if people we look at the ability to possibility to talk with their shaper and the shaper as well that has to do the same, right, in order to create the best surfboard. But at the end is not just an object. The surfboard is the relationship that you create that is the one that lasts forever. I spoke with several shapers, I don't know, Pat Rawson, Stu Kenson, Greg Hollingsworth, you, Greg Knoll. I spoke with all of them, a lot of them. And what is behind everything is the relationship with people. And
exactly.
And if you have, what they told me that if one day we have the grandfather bringing the grandson to the shop to buy another surfboard shaped by us, I would be amazing. That means we are old, but it's amazing because it means that we did a great job from the relationship, but also from the surfboard itself. So
yeah, no, it's amazing. And then to have my son now, actually, I mean, literally, he's running the business. I mean, he's transformed the business.
Wow.
Yeah, and there's no way that the business would be where it needs to be without him and without his new perspective. You know, with his generation, he's bringing some very needed perspective and innovation and new eyes to my business and to the industry.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm getting older, and I realize I can't do this forever, and it's important to know when to start grooming up the next generation.
Yeah. And you found it inside your family. That is not a given thing, right? And maybe your son wanted to do something different. You know, it happens. But you found sister inside the family, so it's great.
Yeah, well, you know, it's not something that you plan. I mean, I never actually looked that far ahead and planned. Okay, well, this is going to be a family business. But you know, when I built my first surfboard, to actually think that, I mean, it's a crazy thought to be able to look ahead and go, well, you know what? One day, my son's going to be doing this.
Yes, definitely. But it happens, so that's a good thing. Let's. What's next for your company? Are you working? Yes. Before you said I put a little bit innovation aside to concentrate on the core for now. But do you have any special projects for the next maybe year to come that you're currently working on, or is super secret?
No, it's not. It's not secret. There's a number of things, and I'll share one thing.
Please.
And so I started shaping when I was 14 years old. And as I mentioned, when I decided I was going to do this full time, I was in my second year in college, and going my third year, and I quit and decided to travel. I ended up in Europe, shaping there. I came back to Hawaii and started a new company. I was supposed to be in France for 2 years. The company that I was working for closed its doors, and so I went back to Hawaii, and I started Island Classics, and it's the brand that the Ho brothers rode. Michael Ho won a Pipe Masters. Derek won a couple of Pipe Masters, and they all won a number of titles on that board brand, Island Classics. I sold it to Hawaiian Island Creations over 20 years ago, maybe 25 years ago. But I got it back.
Nice.
And and we want to start doing it again. And I want my son involved, and I want the crew that I have. I mean, I'm the oldest guy in my business. All the guys are younger than me. I have my son Sean, Nat Woolley, my finish shaper, Ryan, who runs my machines, and he does other things around the factory. These guys are all younger, and when I mentioned earlier in this podcast that they were telling me, "Hey, let's do this. This is like back from the '70s," and I'm telling them, this is old stuff. I've done this stuff already. Let's do some other things. And they said, no. We got to get back. We have to do this stuff. And so timing, everything seems to come around. And so Island Classics, it just seemed to be a really good time to exploring the possibilities of reintroducing this thing to the next generation.
And what is the biggest obstacle that on making it happen? You could virtually make it happen today, no?
Yes. Again, well, I think the biggest thing is time. We have only so much time, and we're busy. The other thing was I mentioned time, but also timing. And I started this project with Derek Ho, and he just passed away just a few weeks ago. So I saw him just a few days before he went to the hospital, and so we're just hitting a pause right now, and we're gonna wait. Gonna just talk to Michael, his brother, and I just give it a little bit of time. I don't know. I don't know how much time. Maybe we'll pick this up back towards the end of the year, maybe this winter, when we start getting waves on the North Shore again. But the whole thing started with talking to Michael and Derek and reproducing some of their iconic boards. And I want to reproduce the board that Michael won the Pipe Masters on. And with Derek, I actually just reproduced one of his Pipe Masters boards. So I got together with Derek earlier this year and said, "Hey, let's do one of your Pipe Masters board." And he said, "You pick the board that you want." And he says, "I want my 7.6 board." And he rattled off the year that he wrote it in the Pipe Masters. And I said, 7.6 of green rails. I don't remember that. But I kept all the original order forms. I have them in file, like hundreds of them. And we went through them together, and I pulled out this 7.6, and I looked at it. He had, I don't know, many 7.6s, but there was this one, the year that he talked about, and I pulled it out, and it had green rails written on the order form. And I'm going, "Derek, that's amazing. And you remember that stuff?" Because I remember all of them. And so I pulled that board out, and it was a handshake. I decided we were going to handshake this board because the original was handshaped. We did it. And that's the board. He had actually a lot of clips of that, riding that board at Pipeline. It was the board. It was that really heavy takeoff where he almost fell. He almost fell backwards, and the spit blew out of the tube and actually helped to bring him back up. But that was the start of it. But because of his untimely passing, we're going to hit the pause button, and maybe we'll pick it up again this winter.
Yeah.
So, but that's one project that we are going to do. We have started, and we're going to continue. So we'll see some boards out there. I'll talk to Michael, and we'll get to reproducing one of his boards.
Thank you for sharing this. In fact, passing of Derek Coy has touched like the whole entire surf community. It was so unexpected and so sad. And, and definitely it's great legend. But as far as I understood, he was a great guy. More than everything. So I'm sorry. I'm sorry that that was also your friend. Sorry that he passed away.
Yeah. They're amazing surfers and amazing people to work with. If there's two surfers if there's anyone that's really, really helped me with my shaping, the development of my shaping, it was the Ho brothers. They were incredibly picky. It was never a board that was good enough. And so, we kept pushing. I mean, it was agonizing at times. Agonizing.
Back to the challenging, right?
Challenging.
Yes.
Challenging. I've lost many nights sleep over their boards, but it was to my benefit.
Yeah,
it's to my benefit, and I'm so grateful to the both of them.
We're gonna finish
Amazing.
our interview with a short Q&A session. So please answer the first thing that comes up to your mind. Okay.
Okay.
The best surfboard that you ever ridden.
The best surfboard I ever rode. Wow. This is supposed to be quick, right? Rapid fire.
As you like.
I had a 6.6 round pin, and I rode it at Lania Kea. It was my personal board, and I ended up selling it to Ricardo. Oh, my mind was like, it's another pro surfer that passed away, and sad story. But it ended up being a really good board, and better after I sold it. But anyway, I don't know if I want to redo that answer.
That's good. Your favorite shaper?
My favorite shaper, easy. That was Harold Iggy. He passed away too. He was actually, I think it was in his 80s. Amazing. He's, you know what? This guy is in the same class as Skip Fry, and I actually rode his boards before I started shaping. Wow. And actually, you know what? I'm going to go back. I'm going to retract my answer. I'm going to retract my answer from that 6.6 round pin that I had shaped. One of the best boards, most memorable boards I've ever ridden was a board shaped by him for me.
Wow.
It was a 6.2 rounded pintail, a yellow bottom, magenta deck.
Ah, you remember
that board? Yeah, I remember that board. That board was amazing.
Fantastic.
It was amazing.
Personal question, your favorite song?
It's a classic one.
What is it?
It's Amazing Grace.
Oh, wow.
Very classic. It's amazing. And, and it's because, for me, it's been personally true in my life. I've received amazing grace.
Your favorite surf spot?
Favorite surf spot? The right, Lania Kea.
Your favorite surfer? It will not put you in trouble. I get you in trouble, but...
They're supposed to be these are simple questions.
You're not that simple, right? Because there are so many out there, great from the past, from the present,
I tell you, for a lot of different reasons, Andy Ayers is one of my favorite surfers.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, one of my favorite surfers of all time.
Last question is a little bit unusual. We ask everybody, and has nothing to do with surf or surfboard. So be ready. We want to know your best relationship advice.
Well, I'm going to give you an answer that I think you're not even going to expect.
Please.
But, and this is something that I take very, very seriously. The best relationship advice. And so the thing is, the first question you asked was, what's the most important thing in surfing?
Yeah.
Is to have fun. For me, surfing is really it's really important. It's a huge part of my life. The other thing we talked about is you asked me what kind of advice would I give to an aspiring shaper, and to work hard, but at the same time to make sure that you're shaping lives, because in the end of your life, it's the relationships that matter. So this last question you're asking me, to me, I think maybe sums it all up, and it ties it all together. The best relationship advice that I can give, that I apply to my own life personally, is it's related to your first. It's related to the second question. This last one ties it up. That even though the most important thing about about surfing is to have fun, but really I found out that in life, surfing is not the most important thing, and the most important thing is relationship. That's the most important thing I've learned through surfing, is that surfing is not the most important thing, and it's relationships. And for me, the most important thing in relationships is this amazing grace that I've received. You asked me what's my favorite song, and it's this amazing grace that I received from Jesus Christ. my Savior. And it affects everything I do. It affects the way I conduct business. It affects the way I treat my employees. It affects the way I build a surfboard, how I treat my customers. It inspires me. It inspires me to do my best for my customers, my employees, my family, my children. There's not one thing it does not affect. And am I perfect? No, but I do. I need a lot of grace, amazing grace. And through this process, I've learned to extend that grace to other people. And the most important thing for me, the relationships at the end of the day are the most important thing. And the most important relationship of all that is my relationship with Jesus Christ, the one that created the waves.
Thank you for sharing. It's amazing how the whole interview ended up being connected. You know, like when I designed the question at the beginning, I didn't know your replies, right? And it ended up like a kind of a backbone of the whole interview. And actually, I think it's amazing. It's amazing. Thanks a lot, Eric, for being on the show with me today. And I look forward to talk to you very, very soon.
All right, Alessandro. Thank you. It was a pleasure for me. Thank you for having me.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Goodbye.
Aloha.
Hi, it's me again. I hope you enjoyed our today's episode. If you want to know more about us, please follow www.thetempleofsurf.com and all our social media. Mahalo!